Okay, we are live. Greetings, friends of the apocalypse. Welcome to Podcast at Ground Zero, your home for the apocalypse for Podcast at Ground Zero, episode 61, Turbo Kid. I am Jared the Apocalypse Nerd Wallace. He is Adam Bomb Glancy, or otherwise known this week as Mr. Handy. Now we'll
Thank you, Jared. Thank you very much.
So we won't ask Scott why he has two wrist injuries. We'll just leave that to the imagination. I assume that he did it, battling the undead mutant hordes. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, you remember how I broke my leg, right?
Walking across a parking lot. Yes, I remember that.
That's how I broke my leg. So it's going to be at least as dramatic as that.
Yes, folks. About 10 years ago, Scott was walking across a parking lot and just stepping like over the grass or something.
Yeah, it was actually a slope. It's like a 30-degree slope from a raised parking lot down some grassy slope to the place that's going to work, and somebody didn't want to go all the way around to one end of the parking lot to get down there, so I walked down the slope, and it's true. Your bones really do sound like a bunch of celery being crushed. That's exactly what they sound like when they snap on the inside. It's quite a sound. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had to push him around. Well, actually, I think Ann did a lot of the pushing.
Ancoy, yes. All 75 to 80 pounds of Ancoy pushed me around Gen Con in a wheelchair.
I think duty switched between Ann and Bridget at the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I was pushed around in a wheelchair by girls. That's hilarious.
Well, you looked a lot better than if I was pushing you around. So
true. That's as if you would push me around. Well, maybe down a flight of stairs, maybe down a really steep ramp, just to see how that thing handles on the hairpin turns. But I don't see you pushing me around in a wheelchair. Shoot, did I end up setting up part of the booth with before you arrived? With the broken leg, I somehow remember crawling around trying to get boxes and tables set up with a busted leg, which was no fun whatsoever.
Yeah, you started doing that before me and Rick showed up. And we're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
My duty. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing my fucking duty.
All right. Anyway, so I'm sure Scott injured his wrist by something just as exciting as walking.
As walking to work. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, what do we have in the apocalypse today? Today, which is October 31st, and technically we should do something scary, but no, we're not.
Yeah, I thought about it after the fact. I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be Halloween. We should do a Halloween apocalypse episode, but you know what? That's okay because
fuck Halloween.
Fuck Halloween.
Fuck Halloween.
Fuck Halloween. But and folks, I only say that because it comes from a place of tragedy on Halloween for me personally, and
Halloween is not fun. Not funny.
I used to enjoy it tremendously, but not anymore. So anyway, one of the I was telling Scott, one of the cool things I saw recently was Bethesda, the marketing machine who makes Fallout game series. Now has they're coming out with a Nuka-Cola machine mini fridge. And it's pretty tall. They showed a picture of it has 3 shelves, and each shelf looks like they could fit 4 cans. So you could probably you could fit a 12-pack in the damn thing.
Now, is it shaped like a Nuka-Cola bottle, or is it shaped like a big red Nuka-Cola fridge?
The machine. It's shaped like the machine.
Good.
And I was looking at that and I'm like, oh, maybe I should put that on my Christmas list. But, Christmas may be on hold for this year because the folks I've heard, we mentioned before, is I'm buying a house. Well, me and my wife, we are buying a house and moving. So this is actually going to be the last show probably till next month, just because I have like the major move apocalypse coming up. So in like less than 3 weeks we're moving. So I have as you can see in the background here, I have a lot of crap to do. So this is going to be it. So, but the machine, it's what is it? I looked, it was $150. So a little expensive, but you know what? For a mini fridge, I've seen regular mini fridges go for a lot more than that. And again, I don't know how good a quality the machine is too. I mean, if it's a good quality machine, it'll be totally worth the $150. But that's something I'd like in the office though, because if it's right here, I get reach down and
pull out an ice cold Nuka-Cola.
Exactly. Well, because when we move, I'm going to be I'm going home based for work. So because since I'm moving away from the office, so I am going to constantly be in the office. 8 hours a day, then plus whatever other time. So it's going to be but fortunately the kitchen's just like right outside the office. So I was like, I don't really need that.
Yeah, well, it's still cool. Still a cool product.
It's still cool. It's definitely cool. So.
Do we have anything to report on Wasteland 3?
You know what? I haven't. I saw that it's coming out. I haven't read up a whole lot on it. It's apparently it takes place, like in Colorado. I want to say, like in the cold or something.
Yes, and where the first one and second one, Wasteland 1 and 2, are both set in Nevada. The Wasteland 3 is absolutely going to be an Arctic, nuclear winter Colorado. So it's all radioactive snow. Do not eat the glowing snow.
Yeah, definitely.
As Frank Zappa said, yes, do not eat the glowing snow.
So yeah, they didn't do a Kickstarter this time. They did some other kind of funding, funding thing.
Kickstarter's hard.
Yeah, but it's still fun. Yeah, but it looks like it's still funded, so that should be that should be interesting. So that's coming out. Yeah, I've seen snippets here or there of all kinds of little movies and videos. What was I just reading of something? And maybe this is a rehash of an article. Something about George Romero saying about how he, World War Z and The Walking Dead have ruined zombie films. He'll never make another one again because he can't pitch these little socio-political zombie films and he can't redo them and so on and so forth. But part of me is kind of like, you know what? Thank God. Okay.
Well, his last couple of films have not been great. His last couple of films have not been that. We're being kind. We're being kind to the godfather of the genre, but they have not been good.
Oh no! I give him credit where it's credit due. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn Day, all fantastic films.
Crazies. Don't forget Crazies.
Crazies, all fantastic stuff. Land was not that good, but Diary, it was a different approach. I didn't hate Diary. It was different. It was kind of interesting. But Survival was the absolute worst. And we've mentioned her as actual worst piece of crap I have ever seen. It was awful. Anyway, so yeah, I read something about that lately.
And I will point out on Survival, one of the things that made it terrible was its absolutely god-awful CGI effects, which we're going to talk about in this new movie we're going to talk about today, Turbo Kid, where I'm going to give credit. My early shout out is these guys had a lot of CGI effects and they were okay.
Oh yeah,
for a film that looked like it was made for even less money than the Romero film, they did a really good job with their shitty CGI effects. They did a good job.
Oh, and the one more thing was I posted on the blog. There is another Kickstarter game out. It's called Nukes. It's a party game. 2-day players. They've actually been funded now. It's basically you're in the post-apocalypse. All of you have like a settlement, and you're trying to get enough resources to get enough population to win the game. And while you're trying to do that, people are trying to like, kill you off by swarms of insects or nuking you, or you can defend yourself. And again, it's a very light, super quick, party game, but it's got a theme, based on the stuff we like. So I thought it was interesting, and for $12 with a couple bucks shipping, it's like a stack of cards like this big. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that's on the horizon that we want to talk about before we get into the? Well, I think it's the awesomeness that is Turbo Kid. You are giving it at least a thumbs up, I think.
Oh yeah. So okay, folks. Yeah. So that's all we really have. Oh, just to let you know. Oh, I'm currently listening to War Day. So
all right.
When I'm done with that, we could review that. And let me tell you, I'm finding it more intriguing and interesting now, decades later, than when I first tried to read in the 80s. When I first tried to read in the 80s, I could not get into the book at all. But now coming back to it years later, I'm finding it a lot more interesting, with like their journey, talking about a lot of statistics and all the things that are, I have more of a brain for it now than when I was like, 15 years old. So when I'm done with that, we'll definitely come back and review that book. So, and I also have lined up the other 2 books in the Silo series. I have those now. So I'm going to get through those. And as we get through those, we'll review those as well.
Okay, good. I got mine lined up, and I've already read War Day. Although, frankly, I do need to review it. It's been probably 20 years since I read War Day.
So, folks, we're definitely gonna have some more book reviews coming up, which I know people like some book reviews. So, as we're getting through these books, again, a little more modern and some older stuff. So, all right, so that's going to come up, folks. But now back to Turbo Kid. We're going to talk about Turbo Kid, the film. Filmed in 2015, so it was produced last year. And so, again, we're going to talk about the film, folks. Well, as usual, we try not to go overly spoil it, but we usually wind up spoiling it anyway. So this is your fair chance to spoiler alert and, stop listening, because we're going to, again, talk about a lot of details about the movie. So here's your last chance. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So Turbo Kid.
You know what? The first thing I want to say about this movie is that I don't think the plot matters at all. I mean, we could talk about the plot, but does it really matter at all for this film?
Not particularly. Well, there's a couple of few major plot points, but
but it is a hodgepodge of other science fiction movies, because it's just a giant homage. Right?
Yeah.
It's just a giant homage to the apocalyptic genre as seen from the 1980s.
Yes.
When the film starts, even the credits come up, and it credits some company like, Laser Pacific, your leader in laser disc technology, as one of the sponsors or the producers. And the credits are, that opening credit thing looks like it came out in 1986. It's kind of perfect.
Oh yeah, so we'll definitely say, like, Scott. Again, I'll say this because I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a good film. Okay, I had fun with it. Did I love it to death like a lot of people? Not so much. It's like it was a fun film. Would I come back to it? Probably, just if I would have had a chance to watch it again just for the review, I would have. But it's not something that I would necessarily be like, I got to go back and watch Turbo Kid again.
Oh no, there's not a lot of going back. I'm not suggesting that, but I think that
it's definitely not it's generally a one-time passer for me.
I'm not even willing to say it's a good movie. I'm just saying I really liked it. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's good. It's good because I liked it because it was fun. It was a fun movie. The movie is totally, folks, what we said, it's an homage to 80s apocalyptic films. Okay, totally. Now, and a lot of, just references to the 80s. And the one issue I have with the film, and unfortunately, it's not just this film specifically, it's anybody who's trying to do homages to those types of films, is, okay, the 80s did bad films, and they did bad films good, but they weren't out there trying to make them bad. They thought they were doing God's work. Okay, they thought they were making, good films. But
it's always hard to do camp, right? It's always hard to do something that's supposed to pretending to be taking itself seriously, but is really a comedy, And there's only a couple of films that I can think of where, they pulled it off, where they act completely seriously, and then which underlies how ridiculous it is.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not even just ridiculous. It's just that I find that when people are trying to do homages to the '80s, to do that kind of ridiculous over the top of the '80s,
like Kung Fury.
Yeah, like when people try to do it, they overdo it. I find that they always they amp it up just a little too much. Like if you would have just cranked it back just like one click, it would have been much better. Because yes, I know that's the intent. Let's do it over the top. But they, normally my philosophy is if you're gonna go over the top, you go all the way. Okay, but
I always think that the over the top of these things is kind of this sort of, if only the filmmakers back then had the ability to go over the top as much as we do. And part of that is the CGI. This film did some really interesting gore effects, and it's worth noting that it is hilariously, ridiculously rubber body parts, garden hoses full of blood gory, all right? But it's the kind of gory that I can hardly take even remotely seriously because it's so obvious. It's so obviously fake, but they didn't care. I mean, they made this thing like there's a lot of prosthetic, but they mixed their prosthetic effects with CGI effects, which in a way that I thought was kind of interesting. So that it helped cover up the bad CGI and it helped it enhance the stuff that was prosthetic and in-camera effects that might not have been as good as they could have been. But yeah, they are super gory in this film. The Wasteland is not for pussies.
No, it's not. And I'm trying to find. Have you ever seen it? I know we've looked at this before, but have you found anything on the budget of?
No, I have not. I just saw something on IMDb about its initial take, so it only ever earned like $50,000 in theaters, and that it has since, all I have is its box office numbers.
But I'm sure it'll do more like in afterwards in video and rental.
Once they sold it to Netflix, they made some more money on that. I'd be surprised if they didn't make at least that amount of money again on it. But I haven't been able to find anything about the budget. I will point out that
well, we know where they spent probably the biggest part of the budget.
On Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside's in this movie, folks.
It is a Canadian movie. It's a Canadian movie, and he is a Canadian product. So having him in that movie maintains its nearly 100% Canadian content, except for some reason this movie was made by Canadians and New Zealanders, which is why we have a character in it with that, weird half Mad Max accent in it.
Well, maybe that was on purpose.
Yeah, well, yes, but it was a New Zealand-Canadian co-production, apparently, and they got some, Canadian tax breaks because they had enough Canadian content, which I think which is things like, number one, Michael Ironside, there's your Canadian content, and number two, when they're in the kid's bunker and his newfound friend Apple picks up the box of cereal, did you read the name of the cereal?
Oh, shit.
It was Soylent Vert, V-E-R-T. It was French. It was French-Canadian for Soylent Green.
Oh.
Because, again, Canadian content,
So Michael Ironside's the bad guy. We have a young kid who grew up in the apocalypse, is the Turbo Kid is the main, is the hero. Plus, like you said, there's the Mad Max / Clint Eastwood /
Crocodile Dundee.
Kind of mixed with, but he's like an arm wrestling champion. It's just like
it's like the man from Snowy River was transplanted to the apocalypse, and what I like is he's not particularly competent. They sort of make that point that the guy who looks like the hero, it doesn't always work out the way he plans at all.
No. Oh, and also the one thing that I found that I liked about the one that I really liked about the movie is something we've talked about on multiple occasions in the apocalypse was how do you get transportation in the apocalypse? They're all riding bicycles in the apocalypse.
BMX bicycles. Let's be clear. BMX bicycles with those tiny fucking bikes. The wheels. The wheels on these bikes are like donuts rolling around in this. How do you get anywhere? Yeah.
Well, they're BMX bikes, man. They're meant for they're meant for tricks and jumps and but they did BMX bikes. So I'm like, yes, that's very 80s right there. Yeah. So BMX or even other bikes now, and there seemed to be some kind of bike economy too. People were repairing bikes, but of course, part of the problem, goes back to always, if we're going to be critical for a second, is it's like where are they getting all the tubes and tires that eventually wear out? But
not the same place they're getting the water, obviously, but nevertheless, it's a hilarious future where there's no water except everything's wet because apparently when they filmed it in Canada in whatever, I don't know, like abandoned quarry they filmed it in, it started raining. And so they're like, it was still cold. They could see their breath in all these scenes. It looks like it was a pretty hard, miserable shoot. I don't know how far they were from the nearest heating element, but it looks cold as shit. And it's also wet. And so they had to quickly, so the intro, which is doing, it is the year 1997, the war, that kind of thing. They had to add acid rain into the opening, exposition drop because they had to film in a wet environment or because their budget was running. And it's like, well, I guess it's wet in the future. It just, you can't drink it. So they still managed to keep their water shortage apocalypse, which is, holy crap. How many 80s water shortages are there?
I don't know, solar babies, but
Tank Girl.
Yeah.
Fist of the North Star. Just goes on and on.
Always looking for water, but yeah. So water's a thing, and our hero, the kid who becomes the Turbo Kid. Oh, again, this movie is so like every cliche of the '80s, and just '80s cliches, not necessarily post-apocalyptic cliches, but from the '80s, but '80s cliches. Yeah. Like kids like secret bunkers, just full of like cassette tapes and pink flamingos and
do you remember the scene where they're camping and they have a fire and they're putting VHS tapes on the fire for warmth?
Oh yes
yeah no CDs here. It is it's all tape, baby.
Well, they could have had laser discs. Laser discs existed.
Those don't burn as well as a good VHS tape.
And they're not as toxic.
Yeah. So it is filled with 80s cliches. It's and let's see, what are the other homages? I think they had the Soylent Green. I think they were going for when he makes his girlfriend her own weapon and duct tapes the garden gnome.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was the best. That was
to the baseball bat, and she's like, "This is my gnome stick." I think they're doing Army of Darkness. I think that's Ash.
You know what? I think you're right.
I think she might have been doing Ash. And it was hilarious that she murders some people. She death kills some people with that stupid gnome stick. It's kind of awesome.
Yes, folks. Baseball bat, a statue of a gnome. Basically the guy from fucking Expedia, the Expedia commercials, duct taped to a baseball bat.
Yep. And it does its job just fine.
It's classic.
One of my favorite weapons. And the film's got, I think, Michael Ironside as the bad guy has the only firearm in the movie. Everybody else has got blades and ridiculous nunchucks made out of hammers, made out of claw hammers.
Yes, the nunchuck hammers. Yes,
just all kinds of. There is a villain who is murdered with a beach umbrella. not just by stabbing him with the beach umbrella, but afterwards by opening it inside him. The amount of gory deaths is pretty hilarious. The weapons are pretty hilarious. They have a gladiator fight in a drained pool, which is referred to by the villains in their villainous headquarters as, there's arrows as this way to the pool party, which I kind of like the pool party. That was
that was very aptly named. I'm like, pool party, okay. Yeah. Well, I like that.
One of the weapons in the pool party is literally like a cinder block that a steel rod has been put through, so it's like a sledgehammer. And I thought that was pretty hilarious as well. There's nothing practical about the weaponry. There was a shuriken made out of straight razors.
Was it straight razors?
Yeah, it was like the straight razors you'd shave with, And there was a shuriken made out of that. There was the main henchman who's got a sort of halfway between. Yeah, he's like halfway to Wes and halfway to Michael Myers.
Yeah, he's got this mask on, so you never see his face, and he's got like this prosthetic device that like has like spinning saw blades and shoots saw blades out of them.
Yeah, I noticed that its ability to shoot saw blades always seems to go away right when the hero is fighting and has the blades right near his face.
Yeah,
I'm like, he's shooting guys across the yard with it, and then right when the blade's here, and you think all he has to do is push the go button, and this is over with. Somehow that never seems to happen, but I expect that from an 80s action movie. That's all right. That's fine.
Oh yeah. So
they also murdered somebody with a toy unicorn. they murdered a henchman with a toy unicorn head mounted on a BMX bike. So
yeah.
They're oh man, they're not kidding around. They and when our hero, the kid, who's been reading about Turbo Man.
Yeah, Turbo Man, that's his hero. He has these and apparently that's a currency as well, comic books, or at least Turbo Man comic books. Okay?
Yeah.
Turbo Man's this over-the-top super action super soldier with his turbo arm device, and it rides like a BMX bike as well. You know. So apparently he's trying to collects Turbo Man comics and reads them, and he fantasizes about them, and like he finds he scavages the wasteland, gets junk, and he goes to the one trading port and gives the guy junk, and the guy pays him with Turbo Man comics.
Yeah, and that and dirty bottles of water, like any good Fallout scenario. Here's your bottle of dirty water.
Very dirty.
But eventually he finds a wrecked war machine buried in the ground that happens to have the dead body of some super soldier left over from the robot wars, who's dead in the command cabin with his uniform that sort of looks like Turbo Man. And
pretty much was Turbo Man.
Yeah. And so the kid is able to put on the uniform and get the actual device. Great. I'm wearing wrist things when we're talking about Turbo Kid. Maybe that's kind of perfect. So the kid goes and gets the wrist-mounted weapon system that he then goes out with and zaps bad guys with these energy blasts. And I gotta give these people credit. When they shoot a motherfucker with an energy blast, they don't just go poof into a cloud of smoke. They explode like a water balloon. A big CGI effect with a big splash of blood everywhere, including real prosthetic blood and guts and arms and legs everywhere. They were charmingly gory about the good guy's weapon. I mean, it didn't just make guys go poof, like they were shot with a phaser. They exploded in arms and legs and guts and arms and heads and eyes went everywhere.
Oh, they had all their ranks in bloody mess. So
yeah, yeah, clearly. I'd say the Turbo Kid weapon comes with 3 ranks in bloody mess right to start with. As soon as you pick it up.
Totally. So Well, I think it was Turbo Man because there was like some kind of like video in the War Machine that said, "Oh, Turbo Man, I think that was Turbo Man."
Well, I just rewatched this afternoon. The general says something like soldier. He keeps calling him soldier.
Oh,
but
okay, that's right.
The uniform looks exactly like Turbo Man, and the arm weapon looks exactly like Turbo Man, and the War Machine that's buried has this kind of look like it's some sort of long, thin hypersonic jet. You only see it from the inside. They didn't build an exterior prop for it, but they built a small set that the kid could crawl around in. And it really smells. Obviously, the kid is supposed to take inspiration from this and from the comic book, but the movie never really defines if there's a line between the comic book and the reality of the robot wars, because we sure do get around to meeting some robots before this is over with. We
definitely meet some robots, and and he meets, and we mentioned his girlfriend. He meets his girlfriend early on, like after he he goes to the town, and on the way back from the town from trading, he runs into her, and she's like, "Oh, me and my best friend." She's like a little like, she's a little off her rocker, as they say, And
well, that thing was just like, listen, before we go, I gotta do something first. She goes over and she goes around behind some rubble, and you hear her talking. Listen, I'm gonna be okay. All right, you don't need to hang out with me anymore. I'm gonna be all right. I'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out or whatever. And it's a corpse. It's just it's like a skeletonized, rotten, dead body. And the idea that she's been, and apparently, the big reveal is she's a companion robot. That was her last companion. Nobody else had come along. So she's just been hanging out, waiting for somebody else to just be there, enthusiastic. Everything he does is cool. Like, he pulls out comics. Comic books are so cool because she's designed to make you feel better about your miserable, lame existence. So everything you do is cool. Everything. What'd you say? It's like a museum of cool in here when she's going through all the junk in his bunker. And one of my other favorite little hints that they threw out is that thing where she's all like, "We should play tag." And he's like, "What? No, we're scavenging for supplies." And she like hits him and goes, "You're it," and runs off. And there's this quick scene of them running around playing tag. Well, when they get done, he's panting, and she comes over and sits down next to him. She's not panting. She looks at him up and down and then starts going, it starts panting, so it looks like she breathes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was cool. But she's kind of the post-apocalyptic manic pixie dream girl trope,
Yeah.
She's that exciting girl character who's only there to make the boring guy who's stuck in a rut get out of his rut and have an exciting adventure, right? And that's exactly what she does. And I guess the believable excuse that there is a chick this exciting and this interesting and this much fun and attractive and into you is that, of course, she's a robot and she's programmed to do that.
Well, it couldn't happen any other way.
Yeah.
But
my wife does not have time for my bullshit. Let me just say right now.
I don't think any of her wives have time for a bullshit.
No,
but
no, they do not.
But yeah, so Robot Companion, which we found out eventually. So yeah, again, folks, we told you we're going to spoil a couple of things. So, but it's not going to ruin your fun of the movie anyway. So don't worry about it.
Because the fun of the movie is just one over-the-top, ridiculous moment after another. For me, that was just as they just kept topping themselves.
Oh, it just kept getting worse. And then eventually we run into the, the Crocodile Max or whatever his name is. I
don't think that's unfair. Referring to him as Crocodile Max is not bad. I think his name was Frederick. Let me check IMDb. It was something like, why they named him Frederick? Yeah. Frederick? Yeah, yep. Frederick.
Yep.
Okay, you named him Frederick.
Frederick.
Is that a reference to something? Or?
Her name was Apple. The bad guy's name was Zeus. The right hand man.
The kid was named the kid.
the kid, Skeletron.
Yeah.
Was the guy with the mask and the saw blade hands. He was Skeletron. Okay.
Yeah.
I
think the only other guy whose named is who had a name is like Bagoo, the trader, the merchant.
Oh,
which I have to point out that this film does actually have death by BMX bike. Although it's not like running over a guy's head with it. They literally disembowel somebody with a BMX bike. So there you go. They managed to get that in there as well for ridiculous. You know what it's like, Jared? It's like they made this film with Joe Bob Briggs in mind. Like he was gonna, he'd have to do every time Joe Bob did a review, he'd be like, 6 boobs, 9 decapitations, 3 disembowelings, 1 disemboweling by bike, by BMX bike. There'd be that list at the end, arm foo, leg foo, whatever it was, arm wrestling foo, and this film was built like that. It's built like they were expecting Joe Bob Briggs to review it back in the 80s.
Oh, exactly. And by the way, when in the spaceship, when the guy was talking about talking to the soldier, the commander, he was Turbo General.
Oh,
I believe.
Then he must be Turbo. If it's Turbo General, if there's a line credit for a character called Turbo General, end of story. That was Turbo. Yeah. Man,
it had to be Turbo. So, but yeah, so he meets her, all this crazy shit, looking for water, the source of water. That's the thing, is everybody's like questing for water, and eventually, Max winds up at the pool party with the Turbo Kid and Apple, and they have like 3 guys they have to fight, which are just like so over the top, just like ridiculous,
Every one of them is a video game bad guy.
Yes, all of them.
Yeah.
There's a reveal there, which we won't talk about at the pool party. So again, part of the plot, but we'll leave that one so you can be surprised. But yeah, all the guys are like video game bad guys, with chains and chainsaw. Oh, it was just so ridiculous. It's
one of them looked like a Street Fighter character, I remember. And the guy with the bag over his head, the burlap sack with the one eye hole, looked like there was this one class of tough bad guys in Resident Evil, I think it was 4, where you would always end up being chased around by this guy with a burlap sack over his head and a chainsaw who would just wildly swing the chainsaw at you as he would just come flying at you. That's what the guy looked like. He'd right down to like a Leatherface apron as well with the bag over his head.
Exactly. He was total horror movie trope right there, character. Very interesting, very fun. So Frederick's brother was there as well. Like he was looking for his brother. His brother gone. How to find his brother, Yeah,
that's Frederick's excuse. Apple just gets captured and thrown in the pit in the pool party because the bad guys are looking for entertainment. And our hero Turbo Kid comes and rescues them, and then realizes that the head bad guy and his right hand Gunsel are the people who killed his parents. Of course they are. Who else would kill Turbo Kid's parents except the main bad guy, right? So,
oh yeah.
Got to have a final showdown. So they have their final. They show down. They finally show down.
Oh yes. It's everything you could have hoped a final showdown in this movie could be.
They I want to say there's this thing where there's a part where Apple tries to teach him how to fight, and she starts using the instructions from Karate Kid from the bad guys, which was like strike first, strike hard, show no mercy, was the thing she tells him, which I think is
and he's like, that's it. It's like, yep.
And then she proceeds.
She doesn't really teach him anything,
Yeah, except then she punches him in the eyes, punches him in the throat, and punches him in the balls, as a demonstration of the technique. So the first time he gets into a fight with he's got this ridiculous like machete, and he takes and hits the guy across the eyes with it, and it just lobs the guy's head off from like right here. The second blow hits the throat, knocks the rest of the head off, and then he stabs him he stabs the the guy, the corpse that's kind of standing there, not really, stabs it in the balls, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's on now, I guess. I guess we've started the fight," you know. But the gore effects are like something out of Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, you know.
Yeah,
they're absolute. The only thing that's missing would be pink blood, you know, that off color, not right colored blood. But yeah, it's they do a fine job with their prosthetic effects. Oh
yeah, it was definitely like Dead Alive, or even what was another over the top gore was Cemetery Man.
Oh, good call.
Even to something like that, you know, that's that kind of like, oh, it's so over the top, but it works.
Yep, and like I said, it's pretty well paced. I don't think you'll fall asleep.
No, it's not a very long movie, but it's
the song at the beginning.
Oh,
the song "Thunder in My Heart" is the name of the theme music at the beginning, and it is. And you were listening to it, we're thinking, "Oh my God, this is all the '80s that ever aided the '80s." The thing is, it's a real '80s song, Jared. They didn't make that song up for the movie. It's a real '80s song that was used in a Hal Needham BMX bike movie from 1986 called Rad, R-A-D. The man who brought us Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball 1 through 90, or however many there were, Hal Needham directed fucking Rad, and that song is actually lifted from that movie's soundtrack. Which means they probably spent a few pennies on that too. But it's so awesomely bad. Oh my God.
That's the thing. We were talking about this before you found that before you've researched that information, you're like, this song is so perfect. It's so bad. It's so 80s because it was.
Yeah, it was.
You can't replicate that. You could try. You could try, and you're not going to get it right. But it sounds forced. This song's like, this is absolutely perfect because it was. You can't duplicate that.
It's the proximity to the Eye of the Tiger. You the further you get away from the time that the Eye of the Tiger turned up in that Rocky movie, the less effective your montage music becomes, right? There's not enough cocaine now. There's not enough nuclear annihilation threatening us with the Russians. Well, maybe, but not that much. And there's not enough Smokey and the Bandit. You can't get that anymore. These guys do a fire job of trying. They really do. But the idea that they had to get their shitty 80s theme music off a shitty 80s movie is wow. Well,
it shows their dedication that they want to do it right.
They have a lot of weird references to BMX movies in this.
I know. Because BMX, I'm only a few years younger, but that makes a difference, you know. Just at least for that one little snippet of time. You know, we would have been in high school at the same time together, but you know, when I'm, you know, in middle school, you know, like when I'm in 8th grade, you're like a junior. Were you a junior?
Junior. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like a junior, you know, because I was a freshman, you were a senior. Yeah. So still, like when I'm in like, you know, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you were like, when I started 6th grade, you started high school.
Yeah.
So that's still BMX age, but I'm like in middle school when it was a little more that early time when the BMXing and stuff like that. So that was big back then. Like I wanted one. I never had a BMX bike, but I had friends ride them. I used to ride them. Yeah. BMX bikes were the fucking thing, you know. There was like a park out where I lived that had BMX racing, you know, and stuff like that.
Well, it's not an accident. Those things are all over. Are they all over Stranger Things? Are there bikes, BMX bikes, or are there bikes just bikes?
There might be some BMX, but no, theirs are a little more like I think a lot of them are kind of a little more leftover 70s bikes because like with
because they're poor. Those kids are poor.
With the banana seats and stuff like that. Which
Yeah,
one of my buddies at work got into we got like a debate about, oh, I thought they were girl bikes, and this is like, no, dude, those things were fucking the shit with the long side, with the banana seats and the shifters and stuff. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Right. But BMXing, those bikes, that was like the thing back then. So I could totally see why they did that in the movies, because like I said, I totally remember that.
Yeah. Well, altogether, do we have a summing up on this thing? It's as we're closing in on the top of the hour.
Guys, it's totally worth your time. Like I said, it's like I said, nothing I would come back to a second time, but I had fun. It was a good movie, a lot of homages, a lot of references. Not heavy on a plot, but it doesn't need to. It's just like, just the whole ridiculous, gore and references and homages. It's fun. It's a good movie, especially, if you come from that era, when you saw things like, all these bad, Bronx Warriors of the year 3000, all these like bad 80s, post-apocalyptic movies back then, you'll have a good appreciation for it,
I'm trying to remember there's one that keep trying to remember that had something to do with like it was some 80s film. It was like, Attack of the Prehistoric Women, and it starts off with this. It was one of these things that had a crazy fake language in it, where they would, and I know we've talked about it on the show where we talked about language. They had a crazy fake languages for renaming everything, but then they also have this terrible narration describing what the fake language things are. And there's one element of this that reminds me of that movie. And it was something like, God, I want to say it's like Cave Women or something like that, because it's the future. Women have overthrown the male order, and now men are oppressed in this barbaric Amazon culture. And one of our escaped males manages to accidentally fall into a bunker or Air Force One or something that's been crashed and buried, and finds this sort of console and this equipment, this uniform that I wanted to say it does something like it, the ship's controls declare him the president of the United States or something like, welcome, Mr. President, your war powers your war powers are intact. Congress has voted you another term or something like that. And suddenly he's, given all this gear that's going to help overthrow the evil order of feminazis or that have taken over, the wasteland, and falling into the Turbo Man warship sort of reminded me of that from that movie. Unless that's taken from somewhere else. Can you think of something that's maybe taken from? Because there's falling into Lost Worlds. They do it in Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. It's how Franciosa gets down into the subway. It's just falling through the earth or something. But anyways, still, no matter what, still good movie. You should watch. You will not be greatly disappointed. I think you'll have a good time.
Oh, absolutely. And just as a side note, I meant to talk about at the beginning. It was funny. I read some. I didn't have it. I was going to respond to it, but I didn't respond to it. I just never got around to it. It was one of the people who watched the show was making some criticism about us reviewing a movie, about how we're not movie critics and this and that. He was like, give us a hard time about our criticism, and I just we
said we were movie critics.
That was going to be my point. I'm like, listen here, butt nut. We never fucking said we're fucking critics. As I always say, we're because there was something. He was like really critical about their lack of this or that. And I'm like, really, dude? What the fuck, man? Guess what? I don't get paid to do this. This is not my profession. This is just a couple of guys who appreciate the genre just giving our opinions about something.
Except for a few years going to UCLA's, film studies department. Apart from that, I have no training in this.
Besides my numerous Emmy awards, and
I'm also sadly lacking in an English literature degree, so obviously I should not be commenting on any of the books that we've talked about.
I know. And he tried to save himself at the end. He's like, "Well, but anybody who likes this in a friend of Apocalypse is a friend of mine." And I was like, "Okay, dude, whatever."
Well, we are living in a sort. This is definitely nerd world now, and God knows I have made the same gripes. Everyone loves to pick apart the things that they love, even when they love them.
Yeah,
because I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because we've got so much to choose from now as nerds. We did not have this kind of a buffet 30 years ago.
No, we could do a whole show about that, but
we have got a lot more goodies to choose from these days, so it's a lot easier to hack on the things you don't like. But it's like, I keep thinking of that thing from Spaced, where he says, I once punched a man in the face for saying that Hawk the Slayer was rubbish.
Yeah.
It's like, back then, you better love the genre, because whatever shows up, because that's all you're going to get. There's no standing there with a bowl and saying, please, I have some more. Hollywood is not going to give it to you. They're not.
Well, people nowadays, it's like, yes, some of these younger folks, they'll say like, oh, you're just a gatekeeper and you don't want to let us in and protect. We never fucking said any of that.
No.
I'm just saying is you got it too fucking easy. It's easy. It was easy for you. Everything was just fucking handed to you. It was all there. It's too easy, and it's too easy to find stuff, criticize, look at stuff, listen to stuff. Oh, create your own podcast and talk about stuff.
Holy shit! How easy is that now?
It's really easy.
The idea that what other forum would we have for getting in touch with people? Like making our own radio show on God, what's the stuff called? Like a ham radio show? Is that what we would do? Or
yeah, exactly. We could be pirate radio, or we were gonna make our own fanzine and print it in newsprint.
Oh my God! Don't even. The wife used to do that. We still have copies of the thing around. It was this fanzine she distributed all over Seattle, and I look at the work that they did to get that thing out, and I can't even imagine having to work that hard.
Oh yeah,
it's astounding.
I had a friend, 80s, 90s, did a music fanzine, but he did this underground magazine called DBN, and it was all like music reviews, local stuff, and it was all like newsprint and clip art and typed and printed. And
did he lay it out by hand?
Yeah, laid it out by hand.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
And I even wrote. I wrote articles in it 2 times back then, just like it was called The Walls Corner, and I would just talk about one top, like something like a new album that came out or something like that. So I got to I in it a couple of times, and they write it, and they had to I remember him. I saw cutting stuff out, laying it out, clip art, doing stuff, drawing stuff. Being a fan and being in that wasn't fucking easy back then, and people don't seem to realize that now. We're not just saying that, we're better than you, or, this and that, and we earned it, but in a sense we did. It's just, like I said, things are very easy now, so appreciate the easiness that you have, first world fucking problems,
Yeah. One thing I want to point out, though, on September 28th of this year, just notice this on the Wikipedia page for Turbo Kid. They announced that they're doing a sequel.
What? Get out.
That's right. No Tomorrow, a Turbo Kid tale. And there is even a music video on YouTube, which I have only just now discovered and am looking at.
Oh my God, really? Is it on it's on the Wikipedia page?
Yeah, it was on the Wikipedia page at the bottom. In fact, I'm looking at the video right now, and oh my God, the opening sequence of of the video is Apple, right, as the companion robot. She's hanging out with the guy who's going to be the corpse that she's hanging out with when the kid discovers her.
It's on the Wikipedia page? Where is it?
It was at the very bottom. The very bottom, and then there was a link in the links.
Under references?
I am totally sending you the video right now.
Oh, wait. Lamato's Fate, pause, no tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yep. Just send it to you right now. So it opens right as I'm looking at it. It opens with the clearly dressed in the same clothes, the helmet with the yellow stripes and
my God!
It's the guy who was laying there dead. So I'm thrilled that it's going to be a prequel. So there.
Oh my God! Yeah, I just
Turbo Kid lives on.
Oh my God! So check
Kid.
that out, folks. Okay, well, enough of our ranting. But like I said, the guy who criticized our criticism, fuck you. It's like we're not movie critics. Just fucking deal with it. Again. Anyway, so all right, folks. Turbo Kids both gets a thumbs up from me and Scott. Definitely go check it out. And apparently, we're gonna get a prequel. Yay! Can't wait for that to come out. That's gonna be funny as shit. So. That's all we got, folks. Like I said, now I know we've been a little sporadic, with the shows, and we apologize. But of course, we got to take a little step away again because, like I said, I'm moving. I'm buying a house and I'm moving, so I'm gonna be busy the next several weeks for sure. And then Scott's gonna be coming into close to me in town to take care of some personal business.
Yep.
And I'm going to wind up seeing Scott. Actually, I'm going to wind up seeing Scott because where I'm moving is going to be close to his hometown. I'm only going to be like 45 minutes away, so that works out good for me. So we'll probably get together and do some plotting for what we're going to do coming up. So, but after all that happens, the move and all that other stuff happens, that we'll come back in December and get some more shows going out to you guys. I said some of the things we definitely going to line up is when I finish War Day, we'll definitely want to review War Day.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to your feedback on War Day.
Yeah, so War Day, we're going to do War Day, and then we're going to do maybe some of the rest of the Silo series as we get those done. And then who else knows what will come up in between? Like I said, we've been doing a lot of movie and book reviews lately, which is interesting. And if we can come up with some broad topics, we'll see if we could do that. Some games, we get any more cool Kickstarters. So yeah, so because I'll have I'll be moving the bunker. Like I said, moving the bunker, a little bit more north, because I want to try to stay away from the flood zones down here when the waters rise from the nuclear summer when ice caps melt. I don't know, but so like I said, look for us in December to come back, folks. Just give us about a month. And we'll come back with some new shows, some more book reviews, hopefully some more movie reviews, and whatever else we come up with. And as I try to find stuff, I'll try to get some stuff posted on the blog to keep you guys entertained in the meantime. So again, that'll.
We should definitely post the video we just found to the Turbo Kid prequel. We should definitely post that.
I'll get that. I'll get that up on the blog. If not tonight, I'll get it tomorrow, for sure. So I'll get that up. So that's gonna be it, folks. Again, thank you for spending your time with us tonight. And well, for those who are listening later on, just thank you for your time. This is Jared. He's Scott. We are thanking you, and we will see you in the Wastelands.